Hello friends, good evening, welcome to Chandu Biology Classes. So this is a series of 40 most important topics for APPSC and TGPSC JL exam. Okay, and it is highly important especially for AP students because your exam is upcoming in the another 3 to 4 days, right? So this is highly important for you, and TGPSC students, please keep following the series because this will be highly beneficial because you have enough time to prepare completely when it comes to paper 1. Okay, so we are bringing out only the most important topics which will be highly fruitful for you when it comes to your examination point of view. So we had started our discussion on history. We started with governor generals and then viceroys of India, and later we did socio religious reform movements. So we did that in two parts. Okay, now we are starting with another most important topic and favorite topic of any competitive exam, that is 1857 revolt. So when we talk about 1857 revolt, okay, so they are asking highly factual questions, and also you should know little bit of analysis when it comes to 1857 revolt. That is, see what is the various ways or various names that they are using to call the same revolt. That is, what do they call the 1857 revolt as? Okay, so those are the things that you have to study. So we learnt in the previous class that what was the social religious reform movement, how it culminated, and we also learnt. So when it comes to social religious reform movements, we learned that how it started in North India, how it took place in other parts of the country like South India, and also how it was when it comes to the reform movements under Islam, and also when it comes to under Sikhs and also Parsis. All these various things we learnt in the previous class. So all these things, like you see, these religious reform movements were having various objectives. So one of the objectives was revivalist movement, that is they wanted to go back to the old form, that is the purest form. So another objective was, that is they wanted to be orthodox form. Another objective was to go forward and get modernized. Okay, see, please be careful by understanding the words modernized. Modernized doesn't mean westernized. Westernized is completely different, and being modernized is completely different. So there were pro-modern people, they were called reformists, and there was certain movements which were reformist movement. So there was clash between orthodoxy and modern ideas. So there was clash between various religions when it comes to the ideology and also ideas. Got it? So all these things and also certain other causes culminated in the 1857 revolt. So this is the background when it comes to 1857 revolt. So let us get started with this topic. So revolt of 1857, what are the key topics we have to study? So first is introduction, causes of revolt, and beginning of the revolt, centers of the revolt, highly important. Okay, causes of failure, importance of failure, just know that, but when it comes to centers of revolt, it is highly important. Next, so when I talk about what is that? Introduction, 1857 revolt. So what do you mean? That it is one of the most significant rebellions in the pre-independent India. That is, by then the British rule was very well established in our country. We had not got even independence. So that was a time when we were completely ruled by the British, and at that time revolting against them meant it was a very significant event. It was one of the landmark events or landmark movement that took place against the British. Okay, so that is why it is called as what? One of the most significant rebellions in pre-independent India. It is also known as First War of Independence. Okay, the revolt began on May 10th, 1857. Okay, for JL students, JL students, please remember the dates also, highly important. So it is May 10, 1857. Where did it begin? Most people think it began in Delhi. It is not Delhi. Okay, it began in Meerut. It began at Meerut. Okay, and gradually spread to various places. Okay, it gradually spread to various other places. Got it? So it started at Meerut on when? May 10, 1857. Please remember the date, May 10, 1857. Okay, so and it gradually spread to various places. All right, so May 10, 1857 is the date you have to remember. That is beginning of the revolt. That is May 10, 1857. It began where? It began at Meerut. That can be a question. And it spread to various places. And another important thing is, here you can see, it is also called First War of Independence. It is also called First War of Independence. Like this, 1857 revolt, it is called by various names. Okay, first thing is, it was called as Sepoy Mutiny. It was also called as Indian Mutiny. Then it was also called as First War of Independence. Okay, so as you can see, we have three things: Sepoy Mutiny, Indian Mutiny, and First War of Independence. So these were the various names that was given to 1857 revolt. Okay, Ravi Dunna, hi. Okay, so Sepoy Mutiny. Sepoy Mutiny. This was a term used by English historians or British historians. Okay, who used the term Sepoy Mutiny? It is British historians. This term was used by British historians. What they said? The British said that it is just the revolt of the sepoys, that is the revolt of the soldiers, not the Indians. Okay, it was just the revolt of the soldiers. That's all. It is not an all-encompassing event. Okay, it is just the revolt of the some group of sepoys. That is some group of soldiers. It is not a revolt of an entire country against the British. That is how they wrote it off. They wrote off the movement. That is the British historians. But when it comes to Indian Mutiny, okay, they wrote it as what? Indian Mutiny was given by, this name was given by Indian historians. This name was given by Indian historians. They were asked in the examination because Sepoy Mutiny was, the name Sepoy Mutiny was coined by whom? They can give the options. Sepoy Mutiny was coined by British historians. When it comes to Indian Mutiny, it was coined by Indian historians. Why they called it as Indian Mutiny? Because it is not the revolt of the British or the revolt of the sepoys. It is the revolt of entire India, that is encompassing even not just soldiers but also civilians and also rural and urban people. Rural and urban people. Okay, that is why it is also called as Indian Mutiny. Please remember this. Okay, please remember this. Indian Mutiny, it was given by Indian historians. Sepoy Mutiny, that is they are telling it is just the revolt of the sepoys, not of entire India. That is how they wrote off the movement. Who? British historians. So Indian Mutiny, it was given by Indian historians. Why? Because they said that it is not the revolt of the soldiers, it is also the revolt of civilians but also rural and also urban people. So that is why it is also called as Indian Mutiny. So please remember this. Next, when it comes to First War of Independence, this has been asked multiple times in various examination. That is, this was given by Vijay Damodar Savarkar, that is V.D. Savarkar. Okay, who is also the founder of Anubhava Mantap, or he is also the person who gave First War of Independence, coined the term First War of Independence for 1857 revolt, that is V.D. Savarkar. Please remember the name, that is V.D. Savarkar. Okay, those who are watching, what is Robert Clive? What you are telling? See, First War of Independence, it was given by V.D. Savarkar, was among the people who gave the name First War of Independence. Got it? Please remember this. Next, you have to remember is May 10. May 10, 1857. It is, you have to remember, Meerut is the place. Okay, the question has been asked. The answer is V.D. Savarkar. Please remember this. Next thing is causes of the revolt. The causes can be categorized into 5 broad categories. That is 5 broad categories. One is political class. Okay, that is political cause. Another one is economic cause, and you can also talk about socio-religious cause, and also immediate cause, and also military cause. Okay, military cause. But before going to all this, I will start with immediate cause. What was the immediate cause of the revolt? Okay, there should be some trigger movement. There should be some triggering movement for you to act. Correct? No? That is just like a stimuli. If you have some stimuli, then only you will respond. That is response to stimuli. That is what was the stimuli for us to revolt against the British. Okay, that stimuli was, that is called immediate cause. Okay, what is the immediate cause? That is introduction of Enfield rifle. Okay, Enfield rifle, that is where Enfield rifle means, that is if you have to shoot, the cartridges greased with the cartridges that was used in the rifles. Okay, on these rifles, the cartridges that was used in these rifles was greased with beef and pig fat. Beef and pig fat. Okay, so like you know, that time the Indian soldiers, it was not just that is Hindus that were there, even people of Islam that were there. So if you are using beef and pig fat, you are obviously hurting the sentiments of both Hindus and Muslims. So this was the immediate cause of the revolt. Okay, this was deeply offensive and also hurt the religious sentiments of both the communities, that is Indians and Muslims. And also this was seen as an attempt to destroy the religion. This was seen as an attempt to destroy the religion. Okay, so this was the immediate cause of the revolt. So in various barracks, people started shooting their commanding officers. Okay, you can take the example of Mangal Pandey also, very famous personality. You must have seen the movie also, that is starring Amir Khan. Okay, so if you understand the immediate cause, you can think about that. Got it? Now let us go back to other causes, that is political cause. Political cause. So you can see political cause. Okay, while talking about the governor generals and viceroys, I spoke about Lord Dalhousie. I spoke about doctrine of lapse. Okay, while talking about Lord Dalhousie, I spoke about doctrine of lapse. Okay, what is doctrine of lapse? I will explain again. So first of all, if there is any kingdom, in any kingdom, if there is a king, okay, after his death, suppose he doesn't have a natural heir. Okay, hair means not the hair which you have on your head. I am talking about the king if he doesn't have a son, okay, his own son, okay, by blood. So that person's kingdom will directly go into the hands of the British. Okay, that kingdom will directly go into the hands of the British. Denied the adopted heir. That is, if you have an adopted son, there is no right to succession. Okay, they cannot ascend to the throne. That is the meaning of doctrine of lapse, which antagonized the ruling class. Which antagonized the ruling class means which angered the ruling class. Okay, you can think like that. So that is the meaning of doctrine of lapse. So this was attempted on various kingdoms like Satara, Jhansi, Sambalpur and also Jaipur, all these places. Okay, so doctrine of lapse was one of the political causes. Okay, that was divide and rule policy of the British, and also when you talk about doctrine of lapse, that is British supremacy. That is, they wanted to annex maximum kingdom to establish British supremacy. So when it comes to that, first thing is political cause. There were applied various policy like permanent land settlement, Rohitwari settlement, all these things we learn when I come to economic causes. The political cause is doctrine of lapse. So you should know what is doctrine of lapse, please. Okay, first of all, you should know who introduced this. It is Lord Dalhousie. Okay, now next is subsidiary alliance. Subsidiary alliance. It created discontent by establishing British control over kingdoms, deepening resentments. Okay, I explained in the class where I was talking about governor generals and viceroys. I explained about what? I explained about subsidiary alliance. Now, if any of you are watching, if you have watched the previous class, or even not, even if not, okay, if you know who introduced subsidiary alliance, I'll just give you 10 seconds. Please think about it and put it in the comment section. Okay, subsidiary alliance. Subsidiary alliance was introduced by whom? Okay, I am asking a question. Okay, subsidiary alliance was introduced by whom? The policy of subsidiary alliance was introduced by whom? Similarly, the policy of permanent land settlement was introduced by whom? Okay, the policy of Rohitwari settlement was introduced by whom? First thing I am asking is the policy of subsidiary alliance. Subsidiary alliance was introduced by whom? Okay, if you are watching in the later, even if not in the live class, if you are watching the class later, please do comment, put it in the comment section, the answer. That is, who put forward or who drafted the idea of subsidiary alliance, under which governor general the idea of subsidiary alliance came into existence, or who put forward the idea of subsidiary alliance. Please do put it in the comment section. Now, when it comes to it created discontent, see, what do you mean by subsidiary alliance? Already I have explained. So let me revisit that. Okay, so suppose there is a kingdom, there will be soldiers across the kingdom. These soldiers will be provided by the British. Okay, they will be providing protection within the kingdom. The rule by king. The king himself will rule. Okay, but the British, from the revenue, you have to give up some major part of the revenue to the British, and also British will keep one agent. Agent of the British will stay in the kingdom, okay, to oversee the administration. But as per the subsidiary alliance, they said that they will not involve in the internal administration of the kingdom. But that was very rarely happening. They said they won't, but that was very rarely they were following that rule. Okay, but they were always engaging, always involving in the internal administration of the kingdom. So that was the case when it comes to this one. Okay, when it comes to subsidiary alliance. Next thing is, another thing is, they had to give the revenue, part of the revenue to the British. Another thing is, if another kingdom is there, okay, if this kingdom people, or if the king had to interact with another kingdom, what happens is they had to take the permission of the British. In order to enter into any kind of treaty or anything, they had to take the permission of the British. Okay. So, this is the thing you have to understand when it comes to subsidiary alliance. So, I want you to answer who introduced subsidiary alliance. Okay. So, I want you to answer who introduced subsidiary alliance. Okay. You put it in the comment section. Got it? I am not going to answer now. Put it in the comment section. So, this was one of the political cause. Next, when you talk about economic cause, so economic policies like permanent settlement, this was introduced by Lord Cornwallis. He also introduced Cornwallis Code for judicial reforms. Permanent settlement by Lord Cornwallis, Rohithwari settlement by Thomas Munro. And there was another settlement, that is Malwari settlement. I have already explained about it. Pushed the population into extreme poverty, because at that time they had to pay lot of taxes because of this, and also there was lot of famine. Okay. So, they were having dual kind of struggle. They had to give the tax, and also the growth of the produce, that was also very limited, and they were not getting proper price also for their produce. Okay. So, this was the thing, and they were not even able to sustain themselves. Forget about selling it to others. Okay. At that time you had to sell, and also you have to give a major part of the produce also as the tax. So, this was the thing when it comes to these land settlement policies. So, British policy emphasized importing. Another thing is importing cotton from England, destroying Indian cotton industries. So, Indian cotton industry, so we had high quality cotton, we were using that, and the indigenous industry, that is Indian industry was booming. But they made sure that Indian cotton shouldn't be used, and also destroyed the local Indian industries, and also started importing cotton from England. So, what they had to do, Indians, if they have to use the cotton goods or something, you have to pay the cotton that is brought from England. Okay. And you have to buy those cotton made goods that was made by the British. Okay. So, it was expensive, but they had to buy that. So, that is the thing when it comes to these. Also explained in this, such kind of economic policies is also explained by Dadabhai Naoroji in his book Drain of Wealth. Okay. Please remember this, whatever I am writing is highly important, that is Drain of Wealth by Dadabhai Naoroji. Drain of Wealth by Dadabhai Naoroji. So, also it led to the destruction of local artisans and craftsmen due to loss of royal patronage. See, like doctrine of lapse and also subsidiary alliance, these policies made sure that the kingdoms became weak, and also treasury of the kings also reduced. So, because of that, what happened? The royal patronage, that is the money they were giving the local artisans or the local industrialists, that also reduced. Because of that, what happens? The British made policies that the Indian goods were made unfit to be sold, that is they put lot of taxes on that. Okay. So, this destroyed the local artisans and also the craftsmen due to loss of royal patronage. So, because of this, the Indian industry started collapsing. Okay. This was the economic cause. This was what? This was the economic cause when it comes to 1857 revolt. Next, socio-religious cause. Like I told you in the previous class, what is socio-religious reform movement or socio-cultural or socio-religious and cultural reform movement? In that class, I told you that there was clash between orthodoxy and also modern ideas. So, some modern ideas like abolition of sati, they were all very good. Okay. But certain ideas were not easily acceptable by the Indians and some orthodox Indians majorly. When it comes to that, what they felt was, they created suspicion in the Indians' minds. Okay. They felt that the culture of India was being destroyed. Okay. The culture of India was being modified. They felt that it is not the administration, it was even the day-to-day life, it was also the normal common man's life that the British was trying to interfere by interfering into religious affairs. Okay. So, because of this, reforms disturbed the traditional fabric of India and created suspicion among Indians. That is what I said just now. Okay. Christian missionaries activities promoting conversions led to resentment. Actually, the Christian based education, that is Wood's Dispatch, Macaulay's Minute, were mainly focused on, actually as per the paper, they were focused on promoting English education, but instead of not just that, they started also trying to convert the other religions into Christians. Okay, into Christianity. That is the meaning of the work of the Christian missionaries. Okay. Now, abolition of sati, support for widow remarriage and also women's education were viewed as interference by orthodox sections. Okay, for example, widow remarriage and also women's education. Widow remarriage, for example, even though it is not taken in a right spirit, even though they see it as a taboo. Okay, so in some sections of the society, at that time in 1800s, all this time, if you are talking about widow remarriage, definitely it will be not taken as a right move by the orthodox Indians at that time. So this all was created resentment among the Indians at that time. So all these are the socio-religious causes when it comes to 1857 revolt. Now let us see the military cause. So immediate cause was also military. It was military and also it was religious. That is Enfield rifle. Okay, where cartridges was greased with beef and pig fat. Now when it comes to military cause, Indian soldiers faced discrimination and were underpaid compared to the British soldiers for the same work that they are doing. For example, I spoke about directive principles of state policy. There I told that equal pay for equal work both for men and women. At that time, forget about women. Okay, they were not even allowed to work. They were not even getting work, women. When it comes to soldiers, okay, although they were doing the same kind of work along with their British counterparts, but they were paid less for the same amount of work. And also when it comes to promotions, the British were preferred, not the Indians. All this hurt the Indian soldiers. Okay, they were denied foreign service allowances like batta in Sindh. Okay, suppose you go and serve in the foreign country, they should be given more allowances. They should be given what? More allowances. Such kind of facilities were denied for Indian soldiers, unlike British soldiers. So you have to remember foreign service allowances. Okay, like batta in Sindh. Okay, all these were denied. Please remember this name. Foreign service allowances was called batta. Okay, now prohibited from wearing caste and sectarian symbols. Suppose if you are a Sikh, you want to wear a turban. Okay, if you are a Muslim, you want to have that beard or something. Okay, if you are a Hindu, you want to have that sindoor or something. All these kind of religious symbols that each person wears on him. Okay, wears in the sense symbolizes him as that religious person. Okay, all these things were not allowed and also prohibited. All these things hurt the sentiments of the Indian soldiers. Okay, next, General Service Enlistment Act made overseas deployment compulsory. Okay, General Service Enlistment Act, that is, as per this, the Indian soldiers definitely have to go and serve in other countries. Going to other countries meant they had to cross the seas. Okay, at that time it was felt that crossing the sea meant going out of your motherland, going out of your religion. That means it meant that threatened the caste sentiment. Okay, which threatened the caste customs. Okay, if you are crossing the sea, it meant that you are going against your caste. It meant that you are getting what? Polluted. That is the meaning of this. Okay, made overseas deployment compulsory. Okay, this was taught that time. Okay, if you are going crossing the sea means it meant that you are losing your caste. So all these things, all these measures by the British hurt their sentiments when it comes to military causes. Next thing is, I have already told you immediate cause. Next, let us see the beginning of the revolt. Okay, the revolt began at Meerut on 10th May 1857, where the sepoys killed British officers and marched towards Delhi. Okay, from Meerut, people started marching towards Delhi. Okay, at Delhi, Bahadur Shah Zafar was declared the Emperor of India. Okay, they marched from Meerut and they went to Delhi. At Delhi, who was ruling? The emperor, that is the king Bahadur Shah Zafar. You are already an old man. Okay, as a symbolic head, he was not a powerful man. As a symbolic head, they made him the Emperor of India. Okay, and the revolt spread under his leadership. Okay, and the revolt spread under his leadership. Okay, he was just a symbolic head since he is an old man. Okay, he is an elder. They made him the symbolic head, and the revolt spread under his leadership. Next, what happened? Let us see at the centers of the revolt. Okay, upon starting, that is at Meerut, the revolt spread to various regions. It predominantly affected the northern parts of the country. Okay, if you talk about 1857 revolt, one of the limitations is that it did not spread to various other parts of the country, but it was fairly limited to and largely limited to northern part of the country. Got it? Now, when it comes to Delhi, in Delhi, Bahadur Shah Zafar was the leader. That is, he was proclaimed as the Emperor of India. Who? Bahadur Shah Zafar. Please remember, Delhi it is Bahadur Shah Zafar. But later, since he was an old man, he could not take place in field work. What happened was, eventually the command shifted to the commander. The commander of whom? Bahadur Shah Zafar. The commander of Bahadur Shah Zafar. Okay, Bakht Khan. Okay, the command shifted through Bakat Khan. Got it? So the command shifted to Bakat Khan, that is Bahadur Shah Zafar's commander Bakat Khan. So please remember, Delhi means it is Bahadur Shah Zafar. Now in Lucknow, revolt began on 4 June 1857. Okay, Begum Hazrat Masal took place over the reign. British resident Henry Lawrence and several Europeans were killed. Okay, Lucknow, it was Begum Hazrat Mahal. Okay, Begum Hazrat Mahal. Okay, she took over the reign when it comes to Lucknow. And British resident. What is that? Resident means you should understand it is under subsidiary alliance there was a resident. Okay, the British agent who stayed there was called a resident. That British resident Henry Lawrence in Lucknow was killed. Okay, Lucknow was recalled by the British in March 1857. They crushed the revolt and recovered Lucknow again, that is in March 1858. Okay, next Kanpur. In Kanpur, it began on 5th June 1857. This is 4th June, this is 5th June, but when it comes to Meerut, May 10th 1857. Okay, it was led by Nana Sahib, aided by Tantiya Top. Okay, his commander, that is Nana Sahib, he had a commander, he was aided by Tantiya Top, very important personality, Tantiya Top. Okay, so in Kanpur it was Nana Sahib along with Tantiya Top. Okay, Sir Hugh Wheeler. Okay, Sir Hugh Wheeler was killed in the revolt. So there the commanding officer of the British was Sir Hugh Wheeler, he was killed in the revolt. Okay, Colin Campbell took over, General Colin Campbell took over Kanpur in December 1857. Okay, Colin Campbell, he was a military officer from the British. Okay, he took over Kanpur. Okay, and he regained Kanpur back into control in December 1857. Okay, so when it comes to Kanpur, who have to remember? You have to remember Nana Sahib, along with him Tantiya Top. Okay, Nana Sahib and Tantiya Top. When it comes to Lucknow, you have to remember Begum Hazrat Mahal. Whom they killed? They killed Henry Lawrence. When it comes to Kanpur, it was Hugh Wheeler. Okay, and Colin Campbell recovered it Kanpur again in December 1857. Now let us look at another part, that is Jhansi. Jhansi, the word itself says the famous personality, that is Jhansi Rani Lakshmi Bai was the leader of the revolt because she was entrenched with the British over her adopted son's legal heir status. Okay, she had an adopted son. They didn't allow the adopted son to take over the kingdom. Okay, that is they applied doctrine of policy to conquer Jhansi. Because of this, they started revolting against the British. Okay, 5th June 1857, but she died fighting in 17th June 1858. That is almost for an year she fought against the British. Who? Jhansi Rani Lakshmi Bai. Got it? Now, when it comes to Rai Bareli or Bareli, okay, Khan Bahadur Khan, who proclaimed himself as the Nawab. Okay, Khan Bahadur Khan. So till now, where are we studied? That is Delhi. When it comes to Delhi, Bahadur Shah Zafar and later commandant Bagat Khan. Next is Lucknow, Begum Hazrat Mahal, whom they killed Henry Lawrence. And when it comes to Kanpur, it is Nana Sahib along with Tantiya Top, whom they killed Hugh Wheeler. Then Colin Campbell took over. Okay, next when it comes to Jhansi, Jhansi Rani Lakshmi Bai, and Jhansi Rani Lakshmi Bai died fighting till June 1858. Okay, next Bareilly, it was led by Bahadur, who is that? Khan Bahadur Khan. Khan Bahadur Khan, who proclaimed himself as the Nawab. Okay, Bareilly, it was Khan Bahadur Khan. Please remember the name. Khan Bahadur Khan. Main grievance was low pensions were offered by the British. Okay, in Bareilly, the Khan Bahadur Khan, Bareilly was under the British rule itself. Okay, so under them, they were offering pensions to the king. Okay, but since low pensions became low, they started revolting against the British because other parts also were revolting. So he also started and he proclaimed himself the Nawab. Okay, main grievance was lower pensions were offered by the British. Defeated by the same Campbell. Okay, and sentenced to death. Who? Khan Bahadur Khan. KBK, you can remember. Khan Bahadur Khan. Who? Khan Bahadur Khan. Bareilly Khan Bahadur Khan. Okay, and he proclaimed himself as the Nawab. Next in Bihar, it was led by another old man, that is Kanwar Singh. Resented British were depriving him of his estate. Okay, the British took over his estate and never had any intention to give it back. So this angered him and he started revolting against the British. So as you can see, it was mainly, as you can see in each area, it was there, what to say, one can say it was having their personal interest also, but it was having a larger public connotation. Okay, public interest connotation it was having, but mainly it triggered was the personal reason, but larger objective was public interest. Okay, that was the thing. Next, when you talk about Bihar, it was Kanwar Singh, fatally died on 26th April 1858. So these are the things we have to remember. Now, so when I talk about this, So you have to understand that. So first thing is Delhi. So Bahadur Shah Zafar, Bakat Khan, and also when it comes to Lucknow, it is Begum Hazrat Mahal, and they killed whom? Henry Lawrence. And also you have to remember whom? When it comes to Kanpur, it was Nana Sahib and also Tantia Top, whom they killed, Hugh Wheeler, okay, and then Colin Campbell took over. Next, when it comes to Jhansi, it is Jhansi Rani Lakshmi Bai, and when it comes to other places, Bareilly, it was, okay, Khan Bahadur Khan, okay, and when it comes to Bihar, it was Kanwar Singh. When it comes to Bihar, it was Kanwar Singh. So why they failed? There was restricted participation. Eastern, southern, western regions did not participate in the and were largely unaffected. Like I told you, it was northern part of India that was fairly rebellious when it comes to the revolt. When it comes to other parts, they were fairly unaffected, or fairly they were not participative. Okay, when it comes to lack of support from several sections, okay, upper class, middle class, and intelligentsia, that is, the educated people did not participate. Educated Indians feared that feudal character and stayed neutral. Okay, so the first thing, region wise, it was not widespread, and when it comes to section wise, also the upper class, middle class, and the intelligentsia, that is educated people, did not participate. Inferior military technology. Okay, when it comes to British, they had advanced technology. When it comes to us, we had very less technology. When it comes to, you were using swords, spears, and axes. Okay, axes. But when it comes to British, okay, they were using lot of advanced technology. As of now, our technology is much better when it comes to army. That is, our military technology, defense technology is very superior compared to our UK's counterparts. Okay, but that time it was very inferior. Next, no united ideology. Different groups fought for different grievances, no common long-term vision, lack of unity led to ultimate fear. Like I told you, each region had their personal reasons, not any common reason. Okay, that there was no united ideology. But still there was importance of the revolt. Although the revolt of 1857 failed, it had few positive outcomes, such as it helped in developing feeling of nationalism and national unity. It improved Hindu-Muslim unity. Okay, the British grew sensitive and framed policies in favor of Indians. Later, some measures were taken by them to improve the condition under their rule. So these were all the positive impacts that were there when it comes to 1857 revolt. That is, one is growth of nationalism, okay, and also Hindu-Muslim unity. That is the biggest positive we can take when it comes to 1857 revolt. Now let us see some questions based on this. So we learned what are the things, what are the various ways in which we call the same revolt, 1857 revolt, that is Indian mutiny, Sepoy mutiny, and the first war of independence. Then causes of the revolt, that is immediate cause, political cause, military cause, and socio-religious cause. And next we saw the centers of the revolt, that is Delhi, started with Meerut, that is 10th May 1857. Then we saw Delhi. Next, what are the other parts? That is Lucknow, Kanpur, Bareilly, Jhansi, and also Bihar. Okay, then what are the reasons for failure of the revolt, and also what is still the importance of the revolt. Got it? These are the things we learned. Now let us see some questions based on this. So educated middle class in India, what they remained neutral to the revolt of 1857. This is the answer to this question. So what was one of the major positive impacts of 1857 revolt? Okay, the growth of nationalism and national unity. This is the biggest positive. Which of the following improved as a result of 1857 revolt? Hindu-Muslim unity. This is the correct answer. Next question, how did the British react after the revolt of 1857? Okay, they became sensitive in policy making. This is the answer to this question. So what role did educated middle class play during the revolt of 1857? They remained neutral. Which of the following was not a result of 1857 revolt? Decline in Hindu-Muslim relations? No. Okay, sensitive British policies? Yes. Indian nationalism, unity among different sections of Indian society? Yes. There was no decline, there was increase. Who declared the symbolic leader of the revolt in 1857? Like I told, Bahadur Shah Zafar. He was declared as the Emperor of India. The revolt of 1850 began at which place? It was Meerut on 10th May. Who led the revolt in Lucknow? Lucknow, it was Begum Hazrat Mahal. Okay, Begum Hazrat Mahal. Next, what was the immediate cause of the revolt? It is use of grease cartridges in infield rifles, not other causes. This was the immediate cause they are asking. Next is, who led the revolt in Kanpur? Kanpur, it was led by whom? Kanpur, it was led by Nana Sahib. Okay, Kanpur, it was led by Nana Sahib. Along with him, there was Tantia Top, but majorly it was led by Nana Sahib. Next is, what you have to know? Who led the revolt in Kanpur? It was Nana Sahib. Okay. Who was the British resident killed in the revolt at Lucknow? Lucknow, it was Henry Lawrence. Lucknow, it was Henry Lawrence. In Kanpur it was whom? Hugh Wheeler. Okay. Who assisted Nana Sahib during the revolt in Kanpur? It was Tantia Tope. Okay, he assisted Nana Sahib. Who led the revolt in Bareilly? Bareilly, it is Khan Bahadur Khan. Who led the revolt in Bihar? It was Kanwar Singh. Rani Lakshmibai died fighting British at which place? She fought for Jhansi. Okay, she fought for Jhansi. Next, when it comes to the revolt of 1857 is also called the first war of independence, Great Rebellion. It is also called a Sipahi Mutiny. So the answer is what? All of the above. Okay. Now the revolt of 1857 was suppressed by the British in which year? It was suppressed in 1858. Okay. What was the role of educated middle class during? Okay, remember one of the causes of failure of 1860 British military weakens, unity among Indian rulers, lack of modern weapons, strong. One of the causes of failure of lack of modern weapons, strong foreign support, unity among Indian leaders. There was no unity, lack of modern weapons. What was the long-term significance of immediate freedom from the British, strengthened British monarchy, rise in nationalism and Hindu-Muslim unity. This was the long-term benefit that we got. So these are the questions that we discussed based on the 1857 revolt. Definitely questions will come from this topic. So please revise it again and please go to the same MCQs again. Out of this nothing will come. Take it from me. Okay, all right. I'll wind up now. Please keep watching the classes and please keep revising. I'll wind up now. Thank you. Take care.